Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our recurring webinar series here at ETRAGE. Today, we'll be talking about ETRAGE preferred and favorite Creo tips and tricks. This will be led by Shei Shinbore, our senior technical lead for CAD systems, and I'll provide a short introduction. A few housekeeping items. Everyone that is attending is in listen-only mode. We would like you to interact with us and pummel us with questions. You'll need to submit them in the Q&A interface in the upper left-hand part of the screen. You should see a key that will let you submit questions to us, and we'll cover those as we go if they're appropriate, or as we typically do at the very end. Please note this will be recorded. We typically post a recording on our YouTube channel and or our website within 24 hours. Any questions we don't get to during the webinar, we will reach out and get you an answer as soon as we can afterwards. A brief agenda. I'll cover a few introductory slides, then hand things off to Shei for the Creo tips and tricks and live demonstration, and help him close with some frequently asked questions we put together. Myself, Scott Rich, I have been in this space for the last 9 years. I specialize in helping customers identify gaps in the current PLM processes and find ways to automate those processes. Shei has been in this space for over a dozen years, and he specializes in both CAD and PLM efficiency for our customers. A little bit about ETRAGE. We've been around for more than 20 years, since 2001. Our mission is to help customers find ways to fully adopt and fully implement their PLM goals. That often involves identifying gaps in current processes, finding ways to integrate and connect disparate systems that need to stay in place, and making sure all the end users have what they need to be successful. Things that we provide include custom development services, as well as extensive training and close attention to what customers tell us they need. This is a slide we like to promote at all of our live user group events. Our approach to PLM adoption, we help you take extensive look at your systems and make sure they are architected to the best way and to the best standards possible. We help you manage those systems, and we provide end users, again, what they tell us they need to be successful. And often is the user interface, that often is finding ways to create automation and a reduced interface just for their needs. A little bit about our products. Again, we've been around for more than 20 years. We have a number of off-the-shelf products to complement Windchill and to help companies get the most from Windchill. That includes our ETRAGE Viewer, powered by ETRAGE Publisher, a bulk loading tool, drawing notes search module, a quality suite, and a number of connectors for different systems. On the services side, provide custom application development for Windchill, cloud hosting, various maintenance and support services. And today we'll be focusing and highlighting some of what we do on the training side. We do a great deal of formal training, and we do a lot of customized mentoring. The Creo tips and tricks is often one of our favorite topics. We get to dwell on things that we find makes Creo more effective for us. And that's something that everyone likes to hear. Our customers, they are all types of sizes, typically someone in the design and or manufacturing space, but anyone who needs to share data, automate how data is going to be shared, integrate systems, and automate how those systems are going to be integrated is a good fit to explore working with ETRAGE. That will take us over to Shei. Shei, if you want to take over the screen sharing, and I'll rejoin you at the end with the Q&A.
I'll dive in here and show some of the tips and tricks in Creo. And again, it's always kind of tough to do these because Creo is fantastic. Creo is amazing in the breadth of things it can do. And generally speaking, I yet to find one single, presentation of tips and tricks that fully encompasses, everything that Creo can do. And so really, oftentimes these tips and tricks, sessions are oftentimes just a hodgepodge of, snippets that you insights into new and amazing functionality, or functionality that's been there for years that frankly people don't take advantage of enough, right? And being able to, just exposing those to, bringing them to the light. And oftentimes you can just, take a peek from different presentations and start to improve your repertoire of what Creo can do, or additional tidbits of information that you're not currently using, right, within Creo that can help improve your productivity, right? That's what I intend this to be as well, right? So this is not going to be an exhaustive, tips and tricks presentation, right? This is going to be one of many, right, that we at ETRAGE are going to produce. We've produced several already, and we're going to produce more in the future. But also there's others as in the PTC ecosystem as well that you can also again use to broaden your knowledge base, I would say, right? So today I'll talk about a few different things. In general, I'll categorize them as, first off, within the context of design intent, and how you can implement and your design intent into your model and ensure that you can change your model seamlessly, right? With minimal downstream effects, right? And then, or at least intended downstream effects, I should say, minimal disruption, in that case. And then I'll talk a little bit about some of the tips and tricks when it comes to the UI, right? In terms of maybe docking or undocking your accessory window, right? And then I'll dive into some usability enhancements, so maybe customizing the UI, and then finally, then we'll just jump into map keys, which is, for me, it's part of the magic of Creo, right? It's something that I very early on I started out with, a few, maybe about a year or two into my PTC journey, and it's been amazing to use that, and yeah, it's just beautiful. So yeah, I'll show that at the end. All right, so I'll pause here and jump into a live demonstration, right? And to start off with here, I'm going to be showing, in this case here, actually, Creo. All right, so to start off with here, I'm going to be showing, demoing the items off of this engine block model, right? And so everything you see here will be based off of this demo model. And so first things first, I'll look at is going to be the referencing or the design intent in Creo, and what I'll do that by way of looking at the reference viewer, right? That's going to be the first item we'll take a look at. And I'm doing that here because oftentimes, in a lot of cases, in companies, people oftentimes you want to look at, you're tasked with, maybe modifying an existing design, right? So whether it's, a design change that comes through from, an ECR or ECN, right? Or whether it's, you're taking an existing, product, saving it as, and then making some minor tweaks and modifications to come out with version 2 of the product, right? In many cases, you're having to take an existing design, tweak it, right, and then come up with something else, right? And so oftentimes, understanding how the original design was even built before you start making changes, right, is very key and helpful, because, again, as we all know, there's such a thing in Creo as parent-child relationships, right? The fact that something that was referenced becomes apparent to the child feature or the child component, and so oftentimes then the referencing entity or the parent changing that can affect how the child is built, right? For good or for bad, right? And so understanding those relationships ahead of time can help you then plan how you're going to change the model in a way that it accepts the change easily and seamlessly with minimal downstream disruptions. And in order to do that, what I'll focus on here is going to be the reference viewer, right? And the reference viewer is a fantastic and amazing piece of functionality that PTC has developed. It's been in Creo for many years now, and and again, it's as easy as going through your right mouse button menu, right? I'm sure there's a UI button somewhere at the top. I believe it's in the tools. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's in tools over here. And yeah, reference viewer, right? But really, it's just as easy as right clicking. I don't know of many people that go up to the tools bar to go look for that, right? So right click in the information pull out, reference viewer is right over here. Now, what does it do? I'll pull this off to the side so that way we can see this in context over here. And so what this does you can, I'll show this in the context of an assembly, and then we'll do the same from a part as well. Right? And so what this does is it shows you, in this case, the current object I had selected. In this case, I picked the flywheel, and then the parents of that object, in this case, the crankshaft, right? And then the children of that object, in this case, the entire engine. Right? And you wonder, well, why is the entire engine the child of this one component? Well, that's functioning because if this one component was missing, then the entire engine would not be the definition that it currently is. So yes, the entire engine needs, components A to Z to work. If I remove Z, then it's no longer the full engine that needs A to Z, right? It's now a component. So that's kind of why that's there as a child. Right? But the key thing I want to focus on here is the parent link over here. So if I select on this over here, if I want to see, okay, well, how is this flywheel connected or to the parent? Right? You can select on this link over here. When it's active in red, now I can right click on it, and there's this option here to display full path. You'll see over here there's a number 2, so that's essentially saying there are 2 connections between the flywheel and the crankshaft. I want to explore those connections. Right? Creo pulls out this display full path window over here. If I click here at the bottom, there's 2 different references to show how they're connected. Right? So the first one I'll keep selected over here, and I'll take a look at. All this is showing, and by the way, this cross highlights between this window over here and your graphics window as well. So all this is saying is that within the assembly, right, there's a crankshaft, right, and I select on that, it highlights in the UI, right, and on that crankshaft there's a datum plane, and it's not cross highlighting because I have datum planes either shown or hidden, or the datum plane display is blank on the layer, which is what's going on in this case. And so even though the plane display is shown over here, the layer tree is slightly hidden. That's the reason why you can't see that in here. And I can confirm that. Correct. Yeah, planes are hidden on the layer. But in any case, there's a plane on there, right? And that plane is what this the flywheel is referencing. I can now go on to select, okay, well, what's the next reference chain? And this shows over here, okay, on that on that crankshaft, again, there's this cut, right? And I can zoom in a little bit closer and select that again to show, okay, well, that's the cut it's referring to, right? Kind of the conical cut and then the cylindrical end to it as well, right? And on that cut, there's this surface. So that cut feature, there's this surface, the conical surface itself. That specifically is what the component is referencing, the flywheel, right? And so now you can dive down to a granular, almost a reference by reference or selection level to see what exactly is being referenced that's causing the parent-child relationships, right? And so now I can clearly understand, okay, if I have an ECR ECN that calls for a change to the number of blades on this flywheel, now I know that, okay, well, that's unlikely to affect the parent-child relationships over here. Right? If I have something that calls for a change to the size or shape or diameter of this cut feature on the crankshaft, then that might impact the flywheel as well, right? So the reference viewer is an incredibly powerful tool that helps you see and understand those parent-child relationships, and then from there you can use it to plan your changes accordingly as well, right? It's one of many, I should say. So the next one I'll jump into again in the context of design intent is also then going to be, okay, now that I know how those models are related to each other, if I want to go ahead and replace one for another, again, similar context of ER ECN where I need to change or remove a model, maybe a particular component is obsolete, I want to swap it out for something else, right? Or we realize, okay, well, this particular bolt over here, right, is not big enough. We want to swap it out for the 528, right? It's a little bit longer, right? So if I want to do that, again, I could go ahead and delete that, and then risk if there are any children to that component, those failing as well. Or there is the replace functionality, which you can get to by either from your right-click menu. It's this button over here. It looks like two boxes with arrows circling to each other. Or you can get it from the operations group within the model tab at the top over here, and let's replace functionality there. In either case, when I select on that, Creo pulls out this dialog box, right? And this just shows, okay, well, this is what you currently have selected, right? And Creo says, okay, well, if you want to replace, tell me what you want to replace it with. And there's many different options over here. I can select, I want to make an existing copy, replace with an existing copy, and then I have to go find that new component, right? In some cases here, I can just have Creo automatically create that. So I could say, hey, I want you to replace this with a new copy. And Creo can create a new copy automatically. And I can give it a name. Or in this case, I could say replace that with an unrelated component. And I can go and find what that, the 528 bolt. Now, if I just go ahead and hit OK, I might still have to, actually, I will still have to pair the references, right, from the old one to the new one, right? But in this case, what I can do here is before I hit OK, I can click on this reference pairing table, right? And Creo pulls out this dialog box and also these the two bolts side by side, right? The 518, 528. And I have this reference pairing table that now shows me in this case, okay, these Creo is saying here, these are the references that were on the 518 bolt. Tell me what the corresponding reference should be on the 528 bolt. And I can do that by either, if I select on the particular reference here, I can either select the drag handle and then find the corresponding reference on the other bolt that fits it. Or, and that's a manual way of doing that, by the way. Or one of the things I can also do before I do the manual approach is to evaluate certain rules. And there are certain evaluation rules in this case that Creo can use to check for the reference pairing between the two originally. Right? So one of those could be component interfaces, right? So are there any component interfaces on one part that already exist and on the same part that have maybe a similar name and they reference similar geometry, right? So it can use those to identify and say, okay, I think these two could be paired together. Or something like the same name or same history, right? And so if 518 bolt was initially created and then saved as a copy, and then the 528 as 528 and then lengthened, right? Technically, both of those have the same history or they share the same ancestry, and so Creo can search by that. Say, okay, I think these have a similar history or ID or type, right? So one of the things you can do to save yourself some time is just to have Creo evaluate first off and see, okay, well, what does it find? Well, Creo already found, okay, well, both of these, for this initial reference over here, the axes share the same name, and so it's going to guess, okay, those should be paired together, and in this case, they should be. Okay, next reference over here, these surfaces over here, they share the same component interface, right, name. And so as a result, it's pairing those together, and I'm fine with that. And then likewise, this reference over here, they share again the same component interface. So again, I could manually, pair those together, but again, just a quick evaluate, and Creo can have some built-in intelligence to check and automatically start to pair things together. And in this case, I'm okay with this, and so I'll hit OK. Now that I have that pairing table created, right, all I just do is hit OK, and now that 518 bolt is swapped for the 528 bolt, right, just like that. So again, you could think of a scenario where it's, hey, we have, a particular component is being, is obsolete, and we need to swap it out for a new component, right? Or, we have, a particular supplier of this particular component that's going out of business, and so we need to find a new supplier and get their model, right? Verify that it works, put it in our assembly, verify that it fits, verify that it works, and then, on and on. And this is a very easy and seamless way to swap out components, right, without having to deal with the pain of, oh, what if, children components fail. Now, the replace functionality also works within Sketcher, in part mode as well. And so I will go ahead and open this part and play with that in here. So again, say, for example, in a version 2 updated model for this particular part over here, we want to play with and take a look and see what if we have this this connecting rod have curved sides to it instead of just a straight side as well. And in this case, I can go ahead and edit definition over here into the sketch. And of course, I could do reference viewer and see how the references are connected beforehand. But in this case, I'll dive into the sketch, and I'll go ahead and say I want to click on that line and delete that. And you'll notice, by the way, Creo warned me before I hit delete. It said, "Hey, hold on, something else is referencing this entity. Are you sure you want to delete that?" And I said, "Okay." I click delete. And now I'm going to go ahead and sketch my arc in this case. Here, kind of curve like that. I'll leave this as is for right now, and I'll hit OK, right? And you'll notice what happens. Creo says, hold on, something failed, right? Child of that entity that failed. And now what I have to do now is go ahead and recreate or at least fix or resolve those failed entities, right? And Creo is again amazing in this case. Is even when there's a failed feature, right? Creo shows you in this case where that issue is, right? It says, okay, hold on, the issue is in set 1 of this round, and within set 1 it's the driving surface of the full round that has the issue. And if I select in that collector over here, Creo can then show me, okay, well, the fact that, hey, if I right click in this over here, hey, what's wrong? Creo says, oh, that surface over here, the missing reference, it's not in the geometry, it's missing, right? It's no longer there, right? So now to recreate that, now I know I just need to go ahead and click in this collector, and now left click to replace and create that new, select this as a new driving surface of the full round. Now it's recreated, it's okay, and everything else is happy. So that's one way to create that change, but the proper way to do it with the replace functionality is what I'll show next. I'll go back into the sketch and I'll do the replace on this side as well. Now, before I delete this, I will not delete it. I'll have Creo do that for me automatically. But to do that, I will first go ahead and sketch arc. That. So I have the new arc, have the existing line. Now I'll go under, I believe it's operations, yep, and replace within Sketcher. Okay, replace, and Sketcher will guide you as to what to pick, right? So it says, okay, well, pick the old entity first. I'll pick on this guy. And I'll pick the new one. I'll pick on this guy. And now Sketcher knows, okay, I'm going to swap them one for the other. And oftentimes it might give you this dialog box to just say, hold on, might not be able to keep the existing, dimensions on this entity and apply them to this guy. Are you okay to delete the dimensions on this entity, which I'm fine with? So I'll say yes. So now it swaps them one for the other, right? But it still keeps the references, right, that were applied from any downstream children of that line now onto the arc as well. And so now if I go ahead and click OK, everything updates successfully without the round feature failing because it's missing that driving surface. Right? It automatically transfer those references for me. So again, that's just one quick and easy way you can use to make changes very quickly and easily, right, within Creo and minimize any downstream effects. So next thing, and by the way, this one is actually pretty quick and simple. It's the fact that you could go full screen in Creo, right? And this has been around now for several years, 5, 6 or so many years. I forget when it was used, but essentially it's F11, right? And within full screen, you'll notice over here, if you move your mouse to the top of the UI, your ribbon pops out, and you can click and select commands in the ribbon. I move my mouse to the left of the screen over here, model tree pops out, and I can see and view that and select in here. But if I'm out in white space, I have full screen real estate. So again, this is all based on user preference. If this is how you want to work normally, you can go ahead and do it this way. If you prefer not to, you can. It's easy, to go F11 to back out to show your screen UI. Now there's going to be docking or undocking, and this is something that's again been in the UI for many years, but it doesn't always get a lot of love. So I'll show that really quick here. So say for example, I want to go ahead and assemble a new component. I want to assemble this 518 bolt to this hole right over here. You'll notice the bolt shows up. It's smaller in context to the engine. Right? And so oftentimes, if I want to select references on a small component, referencing particularly in the context of a bigger one, right? Oftentimes people you oftentimes have to then zoom out and then go over here, pick a reference here, and then zoom out and then go back to where you want to place it in this guy and then pick another reference here, right? And it's just a whole lot of zooming in and out, right? And so one of the things you can do is open the component in a separate window, right? Or an accessory window. But even in this case, this window by default is docked within your existing Creo window. So it stays within this window over here, right? So yes, I can select references from here, but it's still docked within this, right? Now, say for example, I wanted to have my entire screen real estate be just this one Creo window, right? And I wanted to open this and have this display up in a separate window, right? I can do that by cancel out of here. I'll go to my config.pro. The option is get the name. So of course, help me spell accessory. Yes, there we go. And I just put the asterisks or wildcard characters in Creo. Right? And so I know the name of the option had accessory in it. I didn't know the full name of the option, so I just searched the wildcard character, and it shows, okay, this is the one I'm looking for. So accessory window display. But then it tells you it has a description over here, but the options are, should it be docked within the existing Creo window, which is the default behavior, or should it be undocked? And the default, by the way, is whatever has the asterisk beside it. So if you don't change the value, right, this is the default behavior, it'll be docked. In this case, I'll say undocked, I'll add that. And I will not save this config.pro to persist in future sessions right now. I'll just keep that as is. Now, if I'll go ahead and assemble the same component, right, 18 bolt. Now you'll notice this appears in a new in a new window itself that's now undocked, right? And so I can take this window and I could, again, if you have a situation where you have multiple monitors, for example, right, which a lot of designers do have, I can take this window and move it to a separate, monitor, right? Now, of course, you're not able to see that monitor screen from within this webinar interface, so I'll keep this over here within this main window here. But the point now is you can now have this potentially, you can move this to a second monitor, and now it's easy for you to just go ahead and have this one model here be part of your one screen, and now I can just go ahead and easily select references between each one of them, right? And so I can say, okay, well, the tank of this here goes there, and then the bottom surface over here connects with this over here, and I could fully assemble that, click OK, and then move on to the next component. And so again, it's the docking or undocking. You can choose whichever behavior you want to fit your desired way of working. The next thing I'll show really quick here is going to be the fact that the UI in Creo is fully customizable. Right? And I already kind of shown that earlier. I guess everything you could do in terms of tweaking or customizing how Creo works is in this options editor over here. One of the things I'll do over here is over in the customize group over here. It's the fact that you can customize the Creo ribbon. So that's again all these default tabs over here at the top, right? So analysis, applications. You could very easy to go in here and, for example, after applications, I want to add a new tab, and it immediately shows up with live feedback. Right? Within that tab, I want to rename that tab, right? and within that tab, I want to add a new group and rename that group as well, right? Or do I want to, within an existing tab, right? Maybe like the annotate tab, right? Within an existing tab, I want to add a new group within that. And now this is, again, one way I could do that for modifying the, or if I can right click over here and remove, right, any customizations. Or do I want to customize the quick access toolbar, right, which is the toolbar at the very top left corner over here. I want to add or remove command from there. Or you could also customize any keyboard shortcuts. So in this case over here, there are many keyboard shortcuts that are built into Creo right now, right? And so one of those, for example, if I look at the extrude, yeah, so that's X shortcut, right? So do I want to reassign this to a different command, or do I want to look for existing commands that do not have a keyboard shortcut associated with them, and do I want to assign one to it? So again, if there's a particular action that you do very frequently, right, you could assign keyboard shortcuts to that, right? And then the final one, which I didn't show in that UI there, was customizing the shortcut menu, which is a right-click menu, and you throw that in there because I can do that right from here. I think it's much easier if you do it right from within the UI over here like this. And if I hit customize, so anytime you right-click on something, the last option usually is going to be customize. And if I select on that, it shows here, okay, you can customize this menu right here. So what context are you customizing it in, right? So it shows you right here, there's no selection. I didn't have anything selected when I right-clicked. So now it says, okay, well, these are the existing options you have, and it shows you the cascade of Creo commands. I can go search for a particular command I want to add to put into the menu right here. And again, it's context sensitive. So if I say, okay, well, I have a surface or geometry selected, right? I can also then right click, again, customize. And in this case here, now it's changed, right? Now there's a broader selection set, but now, and it says over here, okay, you know what? There's a geometric entity selected within the assembly context. And so now what do you want to customize here? Right? What other commands do I want to add in here? So say, for example, I have this geometry selected from the on the component. It says, okay, if I want to add the activate, right, command over here, the shortcut menu, I can customize the shortcut menu itself, right? I can place it wherever I want it to be, right? Or I can also customize the mini toolbar as well. And I can do this customization in an assembly level or in a part level as well. So again, it's very easy to customize almost any menu in almost any context within Creo to fit your exact look and feel. Right? And these customizations are things that that can be done on an admin level, that can be propagated down to hundreds of users, right? Or this can be done on an individual level, so you can have an individual designer that has his own custom set of commands or UI to fit how you work. Right? That's different from what everyone else in the organization has. So that way, you have your own custom set of things that fit how you typically work. And then finally, I'll dive into map keys, right? And for map keys, I'll open up this model over here to show how I'll do some tasks on this model right here, right? So say, for example, in this case, I'm preparing this model for simulation purposes. And I want to defeature this and remove some of these extraneous, bosses over here, and then remove these holes over here. Right? In order to do that, I'm going to use flexible modeling to do that. And with flexible modeling, I can select a particular, piece of geometry, right? And then within the mini toolbar or within the ribbon over here at the top, right, I can now select anything, superset around that geometry, right? In this case, I can say, hey, I want to select, cut that geometry represents, and then I can say I want to remove that cut. Right? And now one of the things I can now do here is if I want to create this, multiple times over because I have a whole bunch of things I want to defeature, right? So we'll go ahead and create a map key. So I'll go to File Options, and it's going to be, oh yeah, in under environment, and then these settings. Why am I not seeing that? It's, like that. Oh, they brought it out and pulled it out to the, again, this is, I think this is new for Creo 11, pull it out in the options, pull out over here. So you can access it from here within Creo 11, but in other versions of Creo, it should still be in the global environment. You should see map key settings right in here. But in any case, I will go ahead and pull that out. So File, Options, Map Key Settings, and pulls out this dialog box. Right now, in here, I can go ahead and create a new map key. And for map key, what a map key is, for those that do not know, it's essentially a macro that you can create, where you can specify a keyboard shortcut that you can select or press. Right. So if I want to say, maybe I'll call it, XQ or something, right? And once I press XQ, I can give it a name, right? Type what it should do and a description as well. In this case, I'll leave these blank for right now for purposes of this demonstration and just for time's sake. And then I can now select what I want it to do. Okay, so do I want to record keyboard input, right? Or record my mouse clicks. And I can hit record and then have it, go through the sequence. So say, for example, in this case, I want to, remove this over here. So in this case, I will go ahead and pre-select this box over here. And now I will go back and say, hey, I want to record my map key. What happens next? So I have this selected. I want to go to the ribbon, the remove command, and now validate that everything is removed as I expect it to. If I want to tweak any options in here, I can add those, right? But in this case, I'm done, so I'll just hit the green check mark, and I'll be all done in this case. Right? So now I'll stop recording my map key and OK. And oh, by the way, it's actually pretty intelligent as well. It shows me over here. It says, hold on, the X keyboard shortcut is already assigned to these commands. Or in this case, these hotkeys, right? And so do I want to reassign X? Or do I want to do, so what do I want to do here? So in this case, I'll stop and say, okay, you know what? I want to use, QQ instead. Okay. Now this is something that I can save for future sessions, right? To repeat in future sessions, or I can just create this now for just this one session. So a map key is something that typically does not carry over from session to session. So once I close Creo, it's lost unless I save that into a config.pro. So and yeah, and so in this case, now that I have that map key created, zoom out and click on over here. Again, cut, QQ, and boom, that's done. Pick geometry, QQ, that's done. So now it becomes, oh, well, actually in this case, yeah, that failed to regenerate because I only selected the top surface. I didn't select the full surrounding boss. So in this case, let me click the entire boss. In this case, so all those surfaces together. And now QQ, and boom, it's done. So again, map keys are something that, again, are incredibly amazing to use. Right? There are many different flavors of map keys people use. The way I typically use them is, if I have something that a command I use very frequently, almost every day, that I use Creo, I have a map key that's already saved into config.pro for that. So something as simple as edit definition, right, of a particular feature, right, that gets a map key for me. Right? Or there's already a hotkey assigned to that, Control E, right? So I don't even have to make a map key for that. Right? If it's something that I just want to do within this particular session, like I just showed over here, with featuring this model, then I can make a temporary map key that happens within this context over here. And then once I close Creo, I don't need it anymore. I can discard it. So that's just kind of like a, again, whole bunch of different tips and tricks of what you can do within Creo to help Creo run faster, make your modeling and design session much more efficient, right? Again, there's, like I mentioned, there's a universe of many other tips that are not even covered in here, and I would not have the time to cover within the time we have for a typical webinar. But thank you so much for your time and attention here. I'll pause the demo portion, and we'll dive into some questions. But these are some general questions that we've gotten from many different users over the years, and so we just compile them to a list of frequently asked questions. We'll have Scott come back on the line, and Scott, you can tag team these FAQs together.
Thank you for bringing me back. We'll start at the top. Is there a reason for people to be concerned about Creo version changes doing something to damage or obsolete a map key?
Great question, and the answer to that is no. No. Generally speaking, map keys are again, for as long as there's the UI is consistent from version to version, map keys are essentially part of the UI file, and so there should not be any risk of changing or damaging map keys. Right? I would say when you for old-time people, right? When we made the switch from Wildfire to Creo, then yes, the Wildfire UI was drastically different than the Creo UI. So yes, there were some map keys that didn't work, right? When you made that switch. But in this case, if you made a map key in Creo 2, there's a 90 or so ish % chance it still works in Creo 11.
The odds are slim that'll be an issue.
Correct.
Next, I've run into some situations where there's a large group of users at a company, but they have one very inquisitive super user who goes wild with the map keys and makes dozens of them all the time. Is there any reason a CAD administrator should be concerned that one person is creating an enormous number of map keys, some of which are very, very personal to how that person does their work, and any worries with that effort impacting a larger network of users?
Oh yeah, great question. And do it so. So I guess there's a short and a long answer to this. So short, most succinct answer to this is no. There's no risk that an individual user's config or map key settings or UI settings affect all other users. Right? Now, longer or more detailed answer to that is the fact that with Creo, with almost any customization you make in Creo, config or map keys included, you can create them in many different buckets. There could be admin-specific map keys or configs where an administrator creates that, and those are propagated to all the designers and users, regardless of if they like it or not. Right? Everyone will have the same consistent UI. Right? If we as a company have a new tab that we add to our part modeling ribbon, right, and we have a specific company-specific command that we want to apply on there, we can push that as part of an admin config to all users. And so if you have a particular user that has a particular set of map keys, for example, and you realize, what, these map keys are useful and beneficial, and other users may take advantage of these, yes, you can save those and push them as part of an admin config to all other users as well. Now, in addition to that, you can also have user-specific configs. And those could be, a particular user could, have their own set of additional configs that they create as they work, that they like to change how they or customize the look and feel of how they work, right? And those can be saved into another config file as well, right? And when Creo launches upon startup, Creo grabs all the admin configs plus any user-specific configs all together and uses them to run the Creo session. And so for an individual user, it doesn't matter if Paul has his own specific quirky set of of map keys that he likes to use. An admin file will still come in. Creo will pull that plus Paul's additional customizations and use that to run Paul's session. But any other person, that designer that's not Paul, or again, I just made up a name, Paul. Any other designer that's not Paul, right, can still get to run the full admin set without any Palm specific customizations, right? And so you can have the best of both worlds. Essentially, is what I'm trying to get at there. And this is a topic that we can we cover much further in one of our training classes on customizing Creo or the Creo admin class, where we can go into full detail on what's entailed, how you can customize Creo, and how you can install Creo for large groups of users.
Good. Skipping ahead a little bit to stay on the map keys theme. If somebody changes departments, changes jobs, or they go from working solo to working for an employer, are they able to take their custom map keys with them?
Good question. The answer for that is yes. Yes. Generally speaking, you can. That would be essentially those map key settings will be stored in the config profile, and so as long as you save that off beforehand, then yes, you can take that from department to department, computer to computer, or job to job.
We had one comment come into the Q&A portal. Not so much a question, but a statement that they like to use the search feature to find where the map keys feature is located. I don't know if there's a comment you want to offer with that.
Oh, well, yeah, great question. Yeah, so the search feature, that's over here at the very top right corner of the UI. And you could, type in a particular command you're looking for, map key settings. In this case, it goes in and finds that for you wherever it is in the UI, right? Or even if it's not in the UI, it'll find that for you as well. And so yes, that's a great piece of feedback here. Yes, that's another way you could also find not just map keys, but any other kind of setting in Creo.
Next, a little bit off topic is kind of came in through our internal network of question requests, because you talked a bit about design intent and that design user interface. So the question came up around design exploration. Does someone have to have the design exploration module installed in order to explore multiple design ideas at once?
Question. So there's a yes and a no answer to that. I guess there's a yes and a no answer to that. So if I say no to this question, then technically you could explore different design ideas. Then you would just have to delete and or suppress a particular design idea to resume or create another one, and then it becomes much more painful to do essentially, right? But functionally, you could work without that. It's just way more painful, and it's almost like chopping off a toe at that point. It's much easier to use a design exploration extension, and in that case, it's again, we don't have time to get into it now, but it's a UI session you get into where Creo stores all the different design alternatives for you. So you could resume and suppress particular sets of features, create other sets of features in one particular checkpoint. You can add new components, remove components, right? You could test out. It's essentially like a sandbox where you can test out infinite number of ideas, right? Without them affecting your core Creo model. But when you find that particular idea that you like and you want to commit to your Creo model, you can select on that one, commit that to the model, and then only that set of ideas is what is stored in the model, right? But if you realize, you know what, I don't like any of this, you can hit cancel, and again, just like a sandbox, right? Nothing is committed to the model, right, unless you explicitly create it in there. But you have infinite flexibility to explore millions of ideas, right? And this particular module, I believe within the last a few years or so, is included with a typical base state of Creo, and so it's something that again it's included. If you have it, if you've got Creo in the last few years, or you're in a subscription license that renews every couple of years, if you have it in there, you could just go ahead and take advantage of it because it's incredibly powerful.
Thank you. Just a quick reminder, we still have a lot of attendees. We really appreciate that. We are winding down. This is the last call for any questions. That Q&A button in the upper left-hand corner is where those need to be submitted. If there's nothing else, this will probably be our last question. What do we offer in terms of training and consulting for Creo, parametric productivity, and modeling? And what delivery methods do we offer for that?
Right. Great question. And so in terms of Creo training classes, we have there's a variety of off-the-shelf, I should say, training classes that are all available on our website at ETRAGE.com. You can browse the selection list in there, and we run these periodically. We place them on our training calendar, and we can also, run classes, any of those classes on request as well. And so we have, training need of, a core set of users that wants to run the class at a particular day or time, right? We can also place that on the schedule as well. Or we could also do any, custom, training or consulting classes or mentoring classes as well, where, if there's a particular topic that doesn't have a core, class created around it, but you still want to, improve your knowledge set or the knowledge set of your users, we can create a custom, mentoring topic around that, and still use that to run a class, right, for your users. In that case, we'll propose a set of number of days and or times, right, to fit your users and your schedule, right, and we can kind of customize that as well. And then to the other question there of training delivery methods, so we offer more self-paced e-learning option that we have, where you can purchase an e-learning license from us, and in that case, the e-learning library comes full with thousands and thousands of content that users can learn and use and consume at their own pace to kind of upskill themselves, right? And we also offer the instructor-led option, where we could either have a live on-site instructor that comes out to you to do the training, or we also have virtual options as well, where we can run the training classes through. In our case, it's a live online platform where users get access to a link, and within that link, you have the full flexibility of running Creo on the cloud, right? Again, this is not Creo Plus, but you have a virtual machine running Creo where, and you have incredibly powerful graphics, so you're not having to deal with your own licensing or having to use Zoom and controlling another a remote computer. Each student gets access to their own Creo session where they can run things, and so it's incredibly easy to use, incredibly painless, and it makes the training experience infinitely better. Right? And so, any option we can accommodate. Our goal is to ensure that adoption, right? Again, we're a PLM adoption company, so adoption is what we strive for, and one of the ways we do that in this case is to ensure that your users can use Creo effectively.
I think we will wrap it up there. And a quick request to our attendees and listeners, especially those that aren't on today but will watch us as a recording. We really appreciate your feedback. If you have requests, because this is a recurring topic where we visit at least once a year, what would you like to see us cover in future presentations, both on the Creo side, the windshield tips and tricks, and other associated topics? Thanks again, and we will see you next time.